Okay, so in this video we're going to talk about remarketing campaigns. Specifically, what is it that actually it takes to make money from a Google Ads remarketing campaign. Also, other remarketing campaigns and other platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, AdRoll specifically. I'm also going to go over on this video. So in any case, what I will do here, I have a short list of things that I normally do to put together a remarketing campaign for one of the campaigns that I manage. I've managed over 100 campaigns now. I've identified pretty much spot on what works and been doing for the last dozen or so times on our campaigns. I can't seem to really improve it anymore. So I'm going to go over what those things are and essentially also what to avoid if you don't want to waste your money. And I'll start out with a prelude, as I usually do in my videos here, to give you a little bit of a background about remarketing ads. So first of all, the first thing you have to also, I guess, witness and for yourself or realize ahead of time as you're running these campaigns, that even if you do set up the tracking on your campaigns, you're seeing how many sales or how many leads that your campaign is producing and your marketing ads are producing, that it'll never actually show you a positive return like you'd expect on other campaigns. Mostly on Google search campaigns, for instance, that when somebody's searching for a red widget and they click through your ad and they go to your site, that person's not always going to buy. That's certainly not the case at all. But a lot of times they are going to buy fairly quickly. And the way that Google's set up to do tracking, it's pretty good at tracking, at least to give you some data, whether it's half complete or 40% complete, depending on the size of the cost of the product will depend on will basically determine how much the tracking will ultimately pick up that Google allows you to have on how much that works, or shows that how much it works for you. With remarketing ads, on the other hand, it basically you're going to be able to see somewhat how that works, more so on a very inexpensive product when you run remarketing ads. But for the most part, it's going to be pretty hard to track. If you do want to track it, by the way, you should have an actual offer that it expires with a time limit associated with it, which, by the way, you should be using as many of your remarketing ads or banner ads or display ads that you run elsewhere. This month only, you could get $20 off your order, but you have to, and basically with the premise being, if I don't click on this ad right now for something that I was going to order anyway, that I'm going to miss out. Fear of missing out is what they call that. You can track things a little bit better that way, but for the most part, just what I'm saying here is don't rely on the tracking that Google tells you about the ROI you're getting from your ads and people clicking through to order or clicking through to generate a lead. A lot of the way that these ads actually work is they work on a subconscious level in the user's, of course, subconscious, so that when they're in the market for other potential solutions in your market, that you come out on top when ultimately that zero point of truth that people have coined the term, when somebody actually finally makes a decision, okay, this is who I'm going to go with, and that you stand out as the default vendor of choice at that point in time. So really what you're doing is you're investing in your customer before they make that decision, so that you're more likely the one that they decide at that point in time. Now, that's not the only time or only thing that you do with the remarketing ads. As you're going to see with the strategies I'm going to go through, basically what you're doing is you're telling the user a story through your ads, having multiple ads show up for each user that goes to the site. You should invest, for my own campaigns, I'm investing 10 to 20% of our total ad budget just on the remarketing. There's a saying in marketing that frequency is more important than reach, and that's true to an extent. If you don't have good, I found the proper ratio is 20% of your budget just set up for remarketing, but not only just any remarketing, but remarketing done in the right way, that you're not getting near the value out of your first click advertising as you could. And then so ultimately, with all these ads, you're setting up a sales funnel for you, for your customers or your clients, your prospects to basically see and go through, so they actually become indoctrinated on your way of doing things, that You can't expect your prospects to know you're the best without proving it to them. And these remarketing ads are a great way to prove to your prospect why they should go with you and only you specifically. So in any case, I have a list here I'm going to go through on how to execute a remarketing campaign strategy that works time in and time out. This is what works for our campaigns here. So I discussed basically the first one here, why are you doing it? I gave you some basic things there. You have a couple different choices to run remarketing campaigns nowadays. You have video ads, you have text ads, and you have banner ads, typical image banner ads that you normally see as you're browsing around on different sites that you're most accustomed to. For the most part, you're going to want to run all of them. You don't have to start with all of them. You can start with one. Usually because of the barrier to entry, the banner ads, and given how, and without having to spend too much effort to get something out to the test, that's something that I would normally start out with first. What you're ultimately trying to do is just find an offer, an ad that works. You're going to measure your sales before you do this and after, because it's a little harder to track for the reasons I mentioned, and see your sales actually go up. You're going to market to people before they respond and in the intermittent time from the time they respond to the order, or to the time that basically they get to your site and order, of course. But for lead generation companies, even after they call you or respond, your salesperson is talk to them. You're going to remarket it to them the way that I describe here, to indoctrinate the user on your process and as to why they want to finish their purchase with you as well. But with that said, and then the banner ads have 15 different sizes you can run. You'll be able to get to that once you find one ad that works. But the strategy itself, number 2 here, I'm going to go into. So there's in terms of order of importance, what converts the highest and is most profitable in general, I've listed here at the top. Cart abandonment ads, meaning if you have an ad that's set up for the user that gets to your cart but hasn't purchased yet, those work. They're the most profitable. You only have so many opportunities to do that, but you'll have an ad that gives somebody who's been to the cart speaking to that user definitively by themselves. For the people who get there and haven't converted specifically, give them a small discount or incentive to get them to finish purchasing, and that's going to greatly increase the number of people who finish checking out. That always works. The second one is a sale ad. So I mentioned before, you're trying to build urgency and fear of missing out in the ads that you run. Normally, if you have people who are procrastinating or on the fence, since in mostly every business you're going to have that, because people, that's just what they do more often, way more than you probably think. You are going to reach out to everybody who's been procrastinating and give them an incentive to respond now versus procrastinating, because the more they procrastinate, the more likely it is they're just never going to order at all or buy from you at all. And you give them an incentive to respond and buy then, by the end of the month, by the end of the week, for reasons it's 4th of July, Labor Day, whatever. So those work really well as well. Your testimonials. So this gets into the kind of the mid-range of your sales funnel, where you're speaking to the potential buyer and explaining to the buyer why they should trust you. If they aren't buying yet because of these things, or basically before you get to the point where these 2 things will work, you're going to have testimonials and ads that you can pack in there, several of them. Speaking to the buyer, you can show one testimonial and then you can show up with another. And just communicate, and your other competition aren't going to do this, so therefore it's very highly effective. Even though they're not going to click through and buy right away from that, it's going to make sure that the people come back, and just when they do come to purchase, they remember you. And along the same lines, to explain why your product or service is better and why the user should buy that, you have ads that reverberate the features of the unique value proposition you have for the buyer, the benefits also of the service or product you offer, and you put into an ad. Usually one ad is good for that, but you can have several. The last thing is, if you've done all those things, and this is a funnel, you do these things to get people to respond from the bottom of the funnel, and then these are bottom of the funnel techniques. The top of the funnel, usually, and it still applies for remarketing, a lot of people don't think about this, have a white paper, an ebook. If they haven't responded yet, that's a good way to get them warmed up for these other ads to show up alongside or after it, basically. And so usually I set up all these for a company. There's no reason why, it doesn't matter what it is, why not to use those things, spending your 20% of your ad budget on that, and then from there you'll really see sometimes double your sales revenue just from adding that as a part of your overall PPC strategy. So in any case here, moving on, so when you do all these, you set up the ads, basically what you're trying to do is trying to see what works. You're going to adjust your strategy to what, pile on the stuff that works more than average, more, and the stuff less than average, less, and you do that through adjusting your bids on the various variables in your remarketing campaigns that you can do that on. And for Google ads, Facebook ads, they all have that. AdRoll, not so much. And then within that, you can set up, cookie targeting. So people who've been to the site 30 days ago, within 90 days, within 180 days, within 540 on Google specifically, you can set unique bids for each one of those. And if you separate those out, those audiences will perform very differently. And so what you're trying to do with the conversion tracking that you do have, the little bit of conversion data you will get, you'll assign a different bid to each one of those audiences. For each placement that you have, you'll set a different bid if you can do it, you have enough traffic, and so on and so forth. All the way across the account, you're going to apply a gradient of bids so that stuff that is working, you're going to keep using, and then through a process of elimination, you're going to weed out the stuff that doesn't work to finally get to an account that has an ROI or gives you a boost at an ROI, added ROI that you're looking for. Ultimately, I usually start out the bids on all these ads at 50 cents a click. From there, you can go up or down. The one thing that people don't recognize about banner ads in general, or display ads in general, that the click-through rate on your ads heavily affects what you're paying for a click. So ultimately, you need an ad, and most people fail at this, they need an ad to have a high click-through rate, not only targeting it well, but a good message, a good offer, good call to action on that ad to get really high click-through rate, usually 5%, 0.5% or higher on a display ad is going to get your cost per click down quite a bit to the point where 50 cents a click will be all you have to pay. But if you can get it up closer to 1% than to 0.5%, you can get it all the way down to 20 cents, 15 cents. Then that's where you can usually make a lot of money. And so you want to work on your ad, but then also some of it will be worth paying 50 cents. And in that case, depending on how close, how long ago they were at the site and so on and so forth, that you'll still pay more. But for the most part, you have to really work on getting that ad click-through rate up in order to make a big amount of money from your strategy and also afford to use your remarketing ads on just about any company or for the company that you're using it for, so it really will work well and for sure in your market, in other words. But that's the case with that. And then so when you do all this stuff, you're running all these ads, you're creating a sales funnel with your ads to get people to the site. Your people who come to the site, who've been to the site, you're remarketing to people after they left. You can also, anybody who's been to your site, like your customers, you could, if you haven't done that, as part of your marketing, you should invest some, just getting people who are on your leads list or customers and send them offers. Usually handling that first before you even touch remarketing to the people who haven't responded officially to your site and identified themselves through their email, through their phone number, and get that on AdRoll will allow you to do that, as well as Facebook and LinkedIn. LinkedIn maybe a little bit more for B2B. But so you do all these things, you adjust your bids, you find what works, and once you find something that works, a message that works, an ad that works, you can go on to the last one, which is you use your leverage. You can take your one ad, banner ad for instance, that you ran, for example, you can make that in 15 other ad sizes, and that'll get you more leverage. And in some of the more rare ad sizes that your competitors won't, if they do banner ads, won't be using, and therefore you get a less cost per click, but also more ad impressions. If the ad works, you'll know you'll make more money than with that. But then also so more sizes, more networks. If you're running usually I start my ads on Google Display Network, but then I'll go to Facebook and LinkedIn and AdRoll as well. So there's that, and then of course more ads. So like I said before, there's no reason necessarily why you have to use one ad with a testimonial on it. there's a limit of diminishing, there's a point of diminishing returns on your ads. But if you run multiple testimonial ads and multiple ads that explain your benefits, and if you have multiple white papers and you show those, one might resonate with your buyer than the other, and it also just shows a lot of social proof, yes, you could say social proof, but also authority and knowledge in your space. That's usually going to work better than just having one ad in each one of these categories. So I also recommend that. It's another way to leverage your results. Then of course the last thing is animation. A lot of people don't think about running animated ads, HTML5 ads, to where your ads can move around, they can change colors. There are quite a bit of limitations to that. It can't be too distracting, can't be going for more than 30 seconds on in a continuous loop. But usually, if you have an ad that works, again, you can add a little bit of animation to it and usually get a little bit more click-through rate, which then will bring your costs per click down here from having a higher click-through rate, and then you'll be able to make more of your marketing strategy work. The other thing even less people think about is this interactivity. I've ran some really amazing experiments having, like the ads back in the 90s had, where you would click on, like the ad would ask you to shoot down a duck, like playing duck hunt on the ad. You can do ads like that with Google Ads to the display network. Not quite to that level where they'll let you do that kind of stuff exactly, but if you wanted to show a different, I had an ad where it displayed different colors of a furniture by clicking on a color palette, much like an e-commerce site would have. And I got a higher click-through rate. Yeah, it's not the first thing you start with, but that's not the point. The point is you start with one ad, one message, and start with the stuff that works the best, and then work your way through all these things. Ultimately, you look at other ads that your competitors are running, and think about what your consumers, what's the actual language that's going to resonate with them to get them to respond. Look into that. Do your research, put together an ad, try it out. So ultimately though, that's the process that I go through to build a remarketing ad strategy that works for the companies that I represent. Pretty much, if you will go through these steps the way that I had, and you, for the most part, 90+% of the time, you're gonna have something that's gonna add value. You're gonna see your revenue before and after, year over year, go up a respectable amount. More so, at least at 6 to 8 to 1 return on your ad spend. When you look at the sales after you turn this stuff on, you'll be able to see that for yourself, very, very likely. If not, go ahead and give me a shout in the comment section. I'd be happy to comment on your ads. And I hope, though, you like this video and you would be open to watching some of my other videos on PPC, mainly Google advertising, management, and strategy, but also other ad networks, PPC, Facebook, LinkedIn strategy as well. So thank you.